Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon session. My name is Lusanda Nyoga. I am the Principal Librarian for Law, Humanities, as well as Education. So for this week's today's session, we're going to be mostly focusing on an introduction to ebooks, thesis, as well as dissertations. We're going to start off with a PowerPoint presentation, and from the PowerPoint presentation, we will then do a live demonstration. So ebooks, what are they? Ebooks are a shortened form for electronic books, and they are essentially a digital version of a traditional print book. So when it comes to ebooks, there is a number of things that one needs to pay attention to or to look at. For an example, electronic books have what we call user licenses. User licenses, they deal with access rules as well as license categories. For an example, with access rules, there's specific rules that dictate how many people can make use of an ebook at once. For license categories, there's usually different categories that our licenses fall within. It can be a single user license, it can be a multiple user license, or it can be an unlimited user license category. It's more like with our printed books. If we have one copy in the library, that copy can only be borrowed by one person. If we have 3 copies in the library, those 3 copies can only be borrowed by 3 people. So we're going to look at the license breakdown. I did mention that we have one user license, we have a 3 user license, we also have unlimited access. So with the 1 user license, only one person can access the book at a time. If we have a 1 user license and one person is reading that book at a time, then a second person attempts to read the book, they will be unable to read that particular book. Unless the person reading the book closes the book, then the next or the second person will be able to hop on and then read the book electronically. With a 3 user license, a 3 user license allows for up to 3 users to read the book simultaneously. So if it says 3 of 3 copies available, that means that such a book can be read by up to 3 students at the same time. A 4th person will be unable to read that book simultaneously with the other 3 users. Then we have books that have unlimited access. For books that have unlimited access, this means that there is no limit on the number of people that can read the book at the same time. So those are some of the things that you want to look out for whenever it is that you are accessing a book. Now, there's different ways in which you can access ebooks. You can access ebooks from the Rhodes University's library Search All feature. You can also access ebooks from the database's A to Z list, which is also on the Rhodes University's library website. And in some instances, you can access these ebooks directly from your subject guides. So I've illustrated here in the image that you can either use the Search All feature, wherein you type in the title of the ebook that you're looking for, then click on search. You can also access these from some of the subject guides that we have. You can also access them from the database's A to Z list. Now, there's also, apart from the user licensing that I mentioned, there's also other things or other details that are important for you to look at when accessing a book electronically. The first one we've already touched on, which is the specific license type. Can this book be accessed simultaneously by 3 people, or does it have unlimited access? So you want to look at the license type before you access the book in order to see if there's a copy that's still available for you to read. You also want to pay attention to limits on downloads and availability options. So this varies from one publisher to the other. For some books, you'll find out that you are at least able to download a chapter from that specific book, about 68 pages or 48 pages. But for other books, you'll find that you're only able to download only 5 pages, whereas others will only allow you to read the book electronically without the option to download. Now, students have asked us previously that what happens if I take screenshots of the pages that I'm interested in? This is in the event or in the instance that you cannot download any pages from the ebook. So if you attempt to take a snippet or a screenshot, unfortunately, for most platforms, when you try and paste it on a Word document, it will appear blank because you're not allowed to print, copy, or download any number of pages from that particular book. So again, there we also highlight that information regarding printing and chapter specific downloads. So the number of pages that you can print, the number of pages that you can copy, the number of pages that you can download, they sometimes, depending on the publisher, they vary across different books. So you want to have a look at those as well. Now, there is certain advantages associated with ebooks. The reason why ebooks are a preferred method sometimes is because ebooks allow for wider access. I'm going to make an example using a printed book. If there is a printed book in the library and someone has borrowed that printed book, it means that printed book is probably going to be out of the library for 2 weeks, for 8 weeks, for 2 months. Sort of depends on the rights that the person has to that book. Are they honors? Are they undergraduate? Are they masters, or are they staff? So that book is going to be out of the library for a longer period of time. But for an electronic book, if we have maybe a one user license to that book, once the person that was using the book electronically closes the book, the next person will be able to access that book. So it sort of makes simultaneous access to the book much more easier. However, with these advantages of ebooks, you can access them from wherever. You can be at home, you can be overseas, you still will have access to the resource. Also, we love ebooks because you can't say that you lost an ebook because it's available and accessible electronically. Whereas with print books, such instances can happen. But it is important to also highlight that some publishers do not make their books available, electronic books that is, available to institutions such as academic libraries. So there's going to be an instance where you search for a book and you see that we only have this book in print, and you reach out to your faculty librarian to say, can I please get this book in electronic format? There's going to be instances where your faculty librarian is able to say, we do have the right to or the access to purchase this book in electronic format. Such a book can be purchased. But there's instances where we do not have the rights or the access to buy the book electronically. So in such instances, we can only have the printed version. And you'll sometimes come across books that are available electronically, but we still can't buy. And you'll ask, but here's the book, it's available electronically. It does happen that some books are made available electronically, but suppliers or publishers only makes those books available or sell them to individuals. So as an academic institution, we are unable to buy such a book. So in instances where there is an ebook option, we most definitely would like to buy that ebook version. But also I must mention or highlight that at times the ebook version as well as the print version, they will sometimes be comparable in price, but sometimes the ebook version will be very expensive, 3 times or 4 times the price of the printed book. Apart from that, there's 2 major platforms that host ebooks. apart from these two major platforms, there are other platforms as well. So the two major platforms are EBSCOhost eBooks as well as ProQuest eBook Central. So those are amongst the two platforms where ebooks are hosted, EBSCOhost eBooks as well as ProQuest eBook Central. We also have some that are available on the Wiley Online Library, some are available on Tyler and Francis, and others are available via Springer Link. So they are available across a number of databases or publishers. We're now going to move on to thesis and dissertations. For thesis and dissertations, I often highlight the importance, especially to our students at postgraduate level, that it is important that before you start working on your own thesis, it's advisable that you go browse thesis and dissertations from your specific department. You want to see how they write in your department, but you also want to see what research has been done by others within your specific department. Right? So I strongly suggest to students that they go through thesis and dissertations from within their specific departments. To our in-person audience, I will be sharing the PowerPoint slides with you, so you do not have to take notes. The PowerPoint slides will be shared with you. So on this afternoon session, we're going to look at a number of platforms wherein you can access thesis and dissertations. The first one being finding Rhodes University specific research, that is thesis and dissertations. So in order to find these, I'll be showing you two platforms this afternoon. The first one being Vital. Vital is more like our legacy repository or platform. So it is a platform that was being used at Rhodes University, but currently the Rhodes University Library has migrated to a new platform called DSpace. This afternoon, I'm going to be showing you both of these platforms. For our online audience, I would like to also highlight that for the Vital repository, you most probably will not be able to access it off campus because of the migration. However, the DSpace platform should be accessible. Also, another important thing for this afternoon session, whenever you are asked or are trying to access any of our resources, because of the move to Open Athens, you will be asked to authenticate. Now, to authenticate, you make use of the same details that you would use when trying to access your RU Connected account or your ROS account. Now, apart from the two platforms that I've highlighted as the ones that I will show you, if you are particularly looking for Rhodes University research output, there's also other platforms that you can have a look at or that you can go through in order to explore thesis and dissertations outside of Rhodes University. So, with the second platform that I'm going to show you that's associated with Rhodes University, that being the new platform that we've migrated to, DSpace, please do note that for some departments, the thesis and dissertations have not yet been fully populated. For an example, if you go into the anthropology master's thesis and you find that it's blank there, that means the migration has not yet fully taken place. But most of the thesis and dissertations have been successfully migrated onto DSpace. So this was just finding thesis or research, particularly at Rhodes University. I also did mention that there is the option to look beyond thesis and dissertations from within Rhodes University. You can look at international thesis and dissertations or national thesis and dissertations. So there's other platforms that you can look at. And for this afternoon, the platforms that we're going to be focusing on or we're going to be looking at, it's ProQuest Dissertations and Thesis Global. So that's one of the databases that we're going to look at. And the other one is the NDTLD database, which stands for Networked Digital Library of Thesis and Dissertations. ProQuest Dissertations and Thesis, it is a paid for subscription. So as a Rhodes University student, you'll have access to thesis and dissertations on ProQuest. However, the NDTLD database is a free or open source database. So it is freely accessible to everyone. So we're going to look at those two as well as part of this afternoon session. We're now going to cross over to the live demonstration, wherein I start by searching for ebooks, and then we'll also proceed to look specifically at the thesis and dissertations. So I'm just going to quickly cross over to Chrome. And what we're going to do is you can navigate to the Rhodes University Library. And if you've never navigated to the Rhodes University Library, a simple Google search for RU Library will be sufficient, or you can access the RU Library from the Rhodes University website. So what I did, I just searched for RU Library, and then I will click on the library option, and there you will get to see the library's platform. So when we started, I did mention that in order to search or to access ebooks, you can either make use of the search all option, you can make use of the databases A to Z option, or you can access some of them via your subject guides. So the search all option on the library's website allows you to find a number or a varied range of resources. So for this afternoon, I'm going to demonstrate by doing a basic search for research methodology. If you have a specific title, book title that you want to search for, but are unsure whether or not we have it in print or electronic format, you can also search for it on the search all option. There you'll be able to see if there's a print, or if we have both print and electronic, or if we only have the electronic version. So I'm just going to search for research methodology. And after searching for research methodology, a number of resources are going to show up. But I want to highlight that when you search this way, some of the resources will not be particularly books. It will be journals, it will be book reviews. But then you have the option to filter your search results. In order to filter your search results, you have the option to start with the top tabs, whereby instead of searching across all resources that are available, you can filter to the books option. Once you filter to the books option, only results containing books will be shown on the results page. So now that the results are mainly restricted to books, if you're looking for electronic books in particular, then you click the available online option right next to all filters. So once you click the available online option, the results that will be brought back will mostly consist of electronic books. So how you spot an electronic book, you'll see somewhere where it is written available online. So that is amongst the first options that you have to filter when you search for books. So you can use the tabs at the top here to be specific that you're only interested in books and you don't want books that are held by the library. You're only interested in books that are available online. You have that option. There is, however, also an option to click on the all filters option. And once you click on the all filters option, you'll see that you'll have other search filters that you can incorporate as part of your search. So you have those options available to you. Now, I mentioned that it is very important that when you're accessing a book, there'll be, if it's an electronic book, there'll be the available online option. So once you search for an ebook, if you are searching for a specific title, please pay attention to the author as well as when that specific ebook was published. You want to make sure that you are accessing the right book. So for this afternoon session, we're going to come back to this book here, the first result, but I want to start with one that is titled Research Methodology, a Practical and Scientific Approach. So we're going to start with this one here. Research Methodology, a practical and scientific approach. So an electronic book will have that available online option. What you do is you click on the available online option, and once you click on that, it will take you to where it says full text availability. Then underneath or beneath the full text availability, there's going to be a link. All right. So I want to mention or highlight that it's important that you pay attention to the link that's being given here. For an example, this one is saying ebook central. All right. So it's important to pay attention to that. The reason why I am mentioning that it's important to pay attention to it is so that if you're trying to access an ebook using the link under full text availability and it gives you problems or says you don't have access to it, this is so that you can be able to go to the actual database where that specific book is available. For an example here, ebook central, for this specific book, if we are unable to access it, then we would have to go to ProQuest eBooks in order to access or get this book. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on the link. And once you click on the link, you'll be asked to authenticate. Seems from my side, it's not asking me to authenticate, but generally you'll be asked to authenticate. When you're asked to authenticate, you'll select the student option or the staff option. Then you'll key in your Rhodes University credentials in order to be able to access the book. Should you have any challenges accessing our ebooks, please do not hesitate to reach out to the library for assistance. So for an example, this specific book here, it says, sorry, your institution does not allow access to ProQuest, da-da-da-da-da-da. Do not be intimidated by this. What I would suggest you do is you go back to the book or the record itself, and what you can do is you can copy the title. And once you copy the title, we'll go back to the library's website. And on the library's website, remember I mentioned that you can use the search all option to search for ebooks. I mentioned that you can use the databases A to Z option to search for ebooks. So we're going to go to the databases A to Z option. And then from the databases A to Z, we're going to go to the letter P for ProQuest. And they will try and locate the ProQuest database. So we'll go through ProQuest Academic Complete. And once we get to ProQuest Academic Complete, which is the ProQuest eBook Central, I'll just paste the title and search. Once we've pasted the title and searched for the book, you can see that the book is now available or accessible to us, right? Whereas when we clicked on the link, we had received a message that said our institution does not have access. So it's very important that you pay attention to the link, and where a link gives you such a problem, you can also report that link to the library. But you have the option to copy the title, go to ProQuest, and search for that specific ebook there, or you can go to EBSCO eBooks to search for that specific ebook there. I will illustrate EBSCO eBooks as the session continues. So this book over here, if we have access to it, it will indicate that it is available. So that is something that we have access to. I'm going to click on the title of the book in order to be able to access this book. So after clicking on the title of the book, we did mention or touch upon publisher permissions that you need to look at or the licensing that you need to look at. For this specific book, for an example, it says that our institution has unlimited access to this book. So this will not be restricted to 3 simultaneous users or 1 user at a time, but it can be accessed by a larger number of simultaneous users. Now, apart from the accessibility option, we also did speak to the number of pages that you can copy, the number of pages that you can print or download. And I did mention that it varies from one publisher to the other. For this specific book, we have a total of 45 pages that we can copy. And for PDF print or chapter download, we have a total of 74 pages that we can get. So this publisher is a bit more on the generous side when it comes to the number of pages that we can download. There also is an option to download the book. Now, in most instances, students, when they see the download book option, they tend to think that they'll be able to download the entire book, but this download book option is more like borrowing the book for a certain number of days. For an example, if you click there, it specifically says how long you can keep or use the book for electronically. So you still wouldn't be able to actually download the full book onto your computer in order to read it later. But there are books that actually allow the full book download. So in that event, you'll see something that says download full book. If it says that, in most instances, it's highly possible that you can actually download the entire book to read it online or to keep it on your computer and to also read it offline. To start reading the book, if you scroll down, you'll see there's different chapters. You can either click on a specific chapter or you can click on the read online option. But if it is that for a particular ebook, you're looking for a specific chapter, next to each chapter, there'll be an option to download the PDF. So once you download the PDF, let's say you've reached the total number of pages that you're allowed to download, which is 74 pages. So if you have downloaded over 74 pages, the next chapters are going to be grayed out. The download PDF option is going to be grayed out. However, you can still read those chapters electronically, right? So I'll just click on the read online option. And once you click on the read online option, the book is going to open up and then you will have access to read the book electronically. Now, it is important to mention that interfaces are not the same. So what you're seeing on ProQuest eBook Central is not going to be entirely the same with what you see on EBSCO eBooks. But whenever it is that you're trying to navigate an ebook platform, just try and see how to navigate, where to navigate. For an example, this specific book that I've opened, if I continue clicking on the next page arrow, I'll be able to continue accessing the pages of this book. But if I am not interested in reading the book like this or in this particular format, because the current format that it is on now is what we call the EPUB. So there's EPUB, there's PDF. On ProQuest eBook Central, if you go to the top where it says book details, you'll have the option to switch from EPUB to the PDF version. But I highly suggest if you're accessing an ebook from your phone, the EPUB version is much more better or easier to use, because what it does is that it has the ability to adapt the text to your specific screen size. So if you're accessing it from a phone, it will adapt or reflow the text to your screen size. Whereas with the PDF, you'll probably have to pinch in and zoom in order to be able to read parts of the book. But before I switch from EPUB to PDF, it has various options as well that I would like to highlight. You have the option to bookmark, you have the option to create a note, you have the option to cite the book. You also have the option to download. It says full download, but remember I mentioned there that sometimes the download option is only for a certain period of time. And then you also have, again, the option to print to PDF as well as the option to copy. So I'll now go to the top for the book details option. Once you click on the book details option, I'll now have an option to switch to PDF. Once I switch to PDF, the layout is going to be different and it's going to be similar to that of a book. So as the layout is now similar to that of a book, you again have the option to read through the book. But the nice part about ebooks is that you're able to search within a book. With a print book, you'd have to go to the front on the table of contents, or you'd have to go to the back to the index in order to pick up where a specific word or subject that you're interested in has been mentioned. So for ebooks, you have the option to search within a book. So to my left, there is a bar that says search within book. If you type in here, I'm just going to type methodology. If you type in a specific search, and what happens is that for that specific word, the database will search within this book and it will let you know where the word methodology has been mentioned in that book. For an example, this shows chapter 2, which is literature survey and problem statement. If we open this up by clicking on the small arrow, you'll be able to see the parts that allude to or mention the words methodology. And from there, if you click on them, or you see a result that you're interested in, you're then able to actually navigate from the left pane to go exactly where that specific word or phrase or subject has been mentioned. So that is some of the nice things about electronic books. And again, I mentioned that you also have the option to bookmark. So I'm just going to close the search within, just clear that, so that we can go back to the actual book. So with ebooks, the ProQuest ebook central platform in particular also allows you to bookmark text, as I mentioned. It also allows you to highlight and to create notes. So for an example, if you are reading up on this section on focus groups and you want to return to this section later on, you have the option to make sure that you can bookmark the page. For an example from my end, what you'd start by doing, I see the bookmark option is already active, but in the event that it's not active, you'd first click on it at the top here. This is to activate the bookmark option. Once you activate the bookmark option, it will start appearing on the book. And if you want to activate a bookmark on a specific page, you then just click on the bookmark icon. Once you click on that, it will usually ask that you sign in. So in order to bookmark and to create notes, it will ask that you sign in onto the platform. But once you're signed in, you'll be able to bookmark, to highlight, and to create notes. So I'm just going to go again on the bookmark icon and I'll click on the bookmark option. And there you'll see that there's now going to be a blue activated bookmark on the specific book. I'll now also go again to focus groups and say maybe from the focus groups section, there's a number of sentences that you're interested in or would like to use as part of your research. So once I started highlighting the text that I'm interested in, there's various options for me to highlight the specific text. So you can then again highlight specific sections within an ebook. In a print book, please do not make highlights. Please do not write on the printed book. But on the electronic book, you're more than welcome to highlight, to create notes, and all of that. So after I've highlighted, if I want to create a specific note on this section of the text, what I would do is right at the top. So this was the bookmark icon. This is where we edit the bookmark, and this is the highlight feature or option. But once you start highlighting text using the mouse, the highlighters become available as one of the options that you can select. Again, this highlighted text here, if you want to insert a note, you can go to the note option at the top, or you can start by highlighting and then selecting the note option. With the note option, you can write any notes that you want to include. For an example, I want to include this as part of my research methodology and stuff like that, so that when you later come back to the book, you'll be able to access the note. So this would delete the note, and this would just close the note. Once you close the note, it usually will be available for you to view, as well as your highlighted text. So a book that you've highlighted or bookmarked will be available on the bookshelf. So right at the top, there is an entry for bookshelf. So if you go to the bookshelf, any book that you have interacted with in terms of making highlights and stuff like that will be available on the book shelf option on the ProQuest eBook Central platform. So you're able to go to your annotations just to see where you have highlighted. For an example, I had previously highlighted the introduction to research, and I'd also highlighted some parts of the book. So to access a book that you've previously interacted with in terms of highlighting the text, in terms of making notes, you then go to the bookshelf option. So that is, in a nutshell, the ProQuest ebook platform. But again, as I mentioned, you also have the option to download the specific book. Again, if you want to borrow the book using that download option, you'd also have to be signed in. But with that option, it might ask you to go a step further by asking that you download the app on your phone, right? So you just have to follow those prompts. So ProQuest eBook Central is one of the platforms that you can use to access books. Again, apart from just searching from the search all option, you can access these via the databases A to Z, which I had alluded to. I'm just trying to now go back to see if the first book that we had searched for is going to become available or show. Research methodology. Now go back to the databases A to Z. Trying to go back to previous search on research methodology. Yes. So I had said that I was going to come back to this first book here, just to also check what different rights does it have. Does it have the same user license rights as the previous book, or does it have different license rights? So once again, the available online option, then you pay attention to where it says it's available. eBook Central, that means that is the ProQuest eBook Central database. But if it had said EBSCO eBooks, then that would be the EBSCO eBooks database. So still waiting for it to load. So again, as an example with this one, for this book, we also have unlimited access, but you can see that there's a difference with regards to the number of pages that you can print or download. The previous one had 74 pages. This one has 84 pages. So they vary across different book titles. So those are some of the things that you want to pay attention to. So we'll go back to the library's website, and on the library's website, we will now go to the different platform that I mentioned, which is EBSCO eBooks. So there is ProQuest, and then there's EBSCO eBooks. So EBSCO eBooks, you can access it from the databases A to Z. Once you click on databases A to Z, you'll then see the list of databases, and then you just click to the letter E or on the letter E, and then you'll have an entry for EBSCO eBooks. Once you click on the EBSCO eBooks option, the database will open up, and there you'll be able to search for a number of books. Now here, I'm just going to do a general search for sociology. Sociology. So you can search for a subject, you can search for a specific book title if you have one, and books that are available will show. For an example, this book over here, it will have the Access Now option as an ebook. You can also click on the title of the book in order to be able to access this particular ebook. So again, like I mentioned, there's a number of things to look out for with this one. This one, in terms of availability, there's 1 copies remaining. So if one person starts reading this book online, a second person that tries to read this book will not be able to read. Under availability, it will say 1 copies remaining, which means there are no copies available. Again, with regards to permissions and licensing, this one only allows you to download 25 pages. The full ebook download is unavailable for download as per the publisher. Copying and pasting is also unavailable. The format, this one is only in PDF. right? So those are the things that you want to look out for whenever it is that you are accessing a book. Again, here you can click on the Access Now option, or you can click on any of the chapters to the far right of the page. Again, next to each chapter, there'll be an option, a downward facing arrow for you to download that specific chapter. So I just clicked on the downward facing arrow, and then it will say that it notifies you that the publisher determines the number of pages available for download. So the chapter that I am trying to download is more than 25 pages. So if you are trying to download more than what the publisher allows you to download, it will inform you that there's not sufficient pages for you to download the full chapter, right? So then if that happens, it will not download the full chapter. You can only download 25 pages from that chapter, or you can select a custom page range if you would like to. But again, in order to read the book, you can click on the Access Now ebook, or you can click on one of the chapters and the book will open up. So remember that I mentioned that these platforms differ, especially the interface. So ProQuest eBooks is different from the EBSCO eBooks platform. So here you also have the option to search within. But to search within, there's a search icon right at the top that allows you to search within. There's also an icon that allows you to do a text to speech. If you are tired of reading the text and would just like someone to narrate the text to you, you can use the text to speech option. You also have the cite option. And you'll remember that previously on the ProQuest ebook platform, we had a similar icon, but this was particularly for bookmarking. But you can see on the EBSCO platform, it's for saving an item. So you want to look out and familiarize yourself with every interface that you try and access. So again, with EBSCO Host, the download option will allow you to download specific chapters like I mentioned, or to select a custom page range if you would like to. So that is in a nutshell ebooks. So whenever it is that you're searching for a book, I would strongly recommend that your starting point, let it be the library's website, the search all option. For some of you, the search all option is available on the subject guides as well, so you can directly navigate through your subject guide in order to run a search. But if it is that the link to the book is not opening or giving you problems, then you're also more than welcome to go directly to these databases that I've illustrated or shown this afternoon in order to access the specific ebook. So we'll now continue to the live demonstration for thesis and dissertations. I mentioned that I started with RU thesis and dissertations, and I mentioned that there's also international databases that you can use to access a wider range of thesis and dissertations. So on the RU Libraries platform, if we scroll down just a bit, this is where we started, the search all bar. Then we moved over to the databases and A to Z list. I also mentioned that you can access some of the ebooks, especially if it's a prescribed reading material or popular. It usually gets hosted onto your subject guide. But what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down. And as we scroll down, you need to locate where it says quick links. And then underneath the quick links option, there's library general, there's teaching and learning, there's research. So beneath teaching and learning, there's a number of options that are available there. But for this afternoon, what we're looking for is RU thesis and dissertations. So to go again on the library's website, you just need to locate quick links. And from quick links, you need to scroll down, locate teaching and learning. Once you locate teaching and learning, try and find where it says RU thesis and dissertations. So I'm going to click on RU thesis and dissertations. And once I click on that, this is the platform that it will take you to. I often suggest to students that, remember I mentioned that this is the legacy platform. If you have a specific title, you can type out the title here and run a search for that specific title. But I often suggest to students that are interested in browsing, as you scroll down, there's different collections according to the different departments. For an example, I'll control find the psychology department. So I just did a control F on the keyboard for psychology, and there the RU Department of Psychology will be highlighted. So what you do is you click on the image there. And once you click on the image there and scroll down, please do not panic if you see a blank screen. All you need to do is to just click on the search or magnifying glass, and then thesis and dissertations from within the specific discipline are going to appear. So I'm going to click on one as an example. I'll start with this one. If you want to view or download the thesis, you can click on the image icon of the thesis. And once you click on the image icon on the thesis, you would then be able to scroll down, read up on the description. But as you scroll further down, there's going to be an option for you to download the PDF in order to be able to read the full thesis offline. So there is that option as well. Just quickly close that. So you'd be able to read this offline. It's about 135 pages. So you have the option to download thesis and dissertations. So this was an example from the psychology department. I'm just going to go back, because what I want to illustrate is that sometimes thesis and dissertations have what we call an embargo. So when a thesis or a dissertation is under embargo, it means that you will not be able to access it. The embargo period varies. It's not a set period that it will only be available after 6 months. It will only be available after a year. The embargo period varies. But when a thesis or dissertation is under embargo, for an example, this one over here, you can see there's a text at the top that says embargoed. I'll just click on it to open it up. So there's going to be a text that indicates that this specific thesis is under embargo. So if it says embargoed, even when you scroll down in order to try and download the full thesis, it will not download the full thesis because it is still under embargo, which means that it is not yet openly accessible. So you will just get the front page of the thesis and not the full thesis that was carried out. So the moment you see embargoed, just know that it is not accessible. Now, apart from our RU thesis and dissertations, I also mentioned the new platform that we moved to, which is DSpace. I'm going to access DSpace this afternoon from a specific subject guide. So from the library's website, if we scroll down just a bit, I'll go to access my subject guide. On the Access My Subject Guide option, there is a subject guide for thesis and dissertations, but I'll particularly be making use of the anthropology subject guide. So on the anthropology subject guide, there is an entry for thesis and dissertations. So under thesis and dissertations, there's an entry for Rhodes University thesis and dissertations. We had looked at the RU thesis using a platform, legacy platform, Vital, but the new platform that we've moved to is DSpace. Just going to illustrate DSpace. So currently, this is what it looks like. It's still a work in progress. But the nice part about DSpace is that it categorizes or makes it much more easier to find a thesis, in that the first page will be divided according to the different faculties. So the important first step is to locate your specific faculty. If it's not on the first page, you can move over to the second page. I'm going to make an example with the Faculty of Humanities. So if you click on the Faculty of Humanities, once you click and you scroll down, you'll start seeing theses from within the faculty appearing. But these might not be from your specific department. For an example, this is the Department of Music, the Department of Sociology. So you might be in a different department within the humanities faculty. So how then do you access your specific department? So on DSpace, you'd click where it says browse. There's an option for sub-communities and collections. So you'd click on where it says sub-communities and collections. Once you click on sub-communities and collections, there you'll see the different departments associated with the humanities faculty listed. If again you can't see your specific department there, you can just cross over to the second page up until you find your specific department. So if, for an example, you're in the Department of Sociology, you'd click on the Department of Sociology, and as you continue to browse, you'll then be able to see all theses and dissertations from within the sociology department. If you click on your specific department and there is no thesis or dissertations showing, please understand that some of the collections are still in the migration process. But again, as you continue to browse, if you want to filter by issue date, by author, by title, by subject category, you also have those options available to you. You also have the option to search within the repository, or you can just browse through the collections here. Again, to access the thesis, you can click on the title. Once you click on the title, you'll be able to see the abstract. Remember, on the legacy platform, we had to scroll all the way down in order to see the download option. But on DSpace, the download option is usually to the left, just underneath the file image of the specific thesis or dissertation. So you'll be able to access it from there. So I clicked on the link that was there, and then this is a doctoral, so 371 pages. You'll be able to go through all 371 pages, right? So that is DSpace, and particularly for Rhodes University related thesis and dissertations. I also mentioned or alluded to international platforms wherein you can access other thesis and dissertations. So we also have ProQuest Dissertations and Thesis Global. ProQuest Dissertations and Thesis Global, you can also access this from the database's A to Z list. If you go to the letter P, you'll be able to see an entry for ProQuest Dissertations and Thesis Global. Just going to click on the link there. So on the ProQuest Thesis, Dissertation and Thesis Global platform, you are again able to search for a wide number of theses and dissertations. And I'm just going to make an example with a specific one that we are going to be searching for this afternoon. I'm just going to type it out and then search. But again, on this platform, you do not have to have a specific title to search for. Even when you have a subject, you can search using that specific subject as part of your interest or your search. So I'm just going to search for education in colonial Africa. Let's say you just want to see any thesis and dissertations that have been done in the past from different institutions on education in colonial Africa. And then I'll just search. And once I have searched, there's going to be a number of results that come back. And as the results come back, you get to see the different number of theses and dissertations that show up. So these are different studies that have been done in this specific or subject area that I searched for. And for these, you'd then be able to download the thesis and to read it online or offline. You can either click on the title of the thesis, you can either click on the full text PDF option, you can either click on the abstract or details option. Again, with all the thesis and dissertations that you have access to, I strongly suggest to students that in the event that you don't have a specific title that you're looking for, and you just have your research topic, try and use your keywords to search for thesis and dissertations within the specific database. So I'm just going to select one. I'm going to click on this one. And once you click on it, it will open up as a PDF. And once it opens up as a PDF, you have the downward facing arrow for downloading, but you also have the download PDF option right at the top if it is that you want to download this and read it at a later stage. So you have access to this platform as well. But I would also like to highlight that apart from ProQuest, thesis and dissertation, and you using specific keywords, you also have different options that you can use to filter. You'll remember when we were searching for ebooks on the library's website, we filtered to books then available online. So on most of these databases, you'll have the options to filter. For an example, on ProQuest, dissertations and thesis, you have the option to filter by the subject. You also have the option to filter by a specific university or institution, by a specific language, or by a specific index term. Right? So you have those options available to you. Now, the other platform that I had mentioned was the NDLTD platform, which you can also use to try and access thesis and databases from international students across the world. So this is what its interface looks like. And what they do on this specific platform is that they will have a list of their recent editions. There you will see recent publications that have been added onto this platform. And with this platform, it also has a number or a wide range of resources. So again, I'll try use the same search which I had used previously, education in colonial Africa, to see if there's been any thesis or dissertations available here on this subject. Now, thesis and dissertations that you'll find here, some of them will probably not be in English because this is more of a global database to look at for thesis and dissertations. So again, I typed in the same thing, education in colonial Africa, and there you'll start seeing thesis and dissertations that have been done on a similar subject matter. And again, on the left, you'll have different options to filter if you want to filter by a specific department, by a specific university, or if you want to limit your search to the last 2 years or a specific time frame, the last 5 years or the last 10 years, you also have the option to do that, right? So sometimes we've found that if a student is reading across material and they see a specific thesis or dissertation having been cited in that particular material, instead of going to ProQuest or going to this specific database, the NDLTD database, they will copy the title of the thesis and then they'll go Google the title of the thesis. Now, that sometimes has its own dangers in that you'll be able to access the thesis, but you'll sometimes find that this is just about 27 pages or 40 pages, only to find out that the actual work is about 100 and something pages or 200 and something pages. So just like we have DSpace at Rhodes University, other institutions also have their own research repositories. Going to make an example here with the WITS research repository to see if we will find something. So I just searched for WITS research repository, spelling there. But as we scroll down, the repository does appear. So if you click on that repository, you'd then be able to access thesis and dissertations from within the WITS university. So instead of just Googling a thesis, go to the databases that we've shown you, go to DSpace, go to ProQuest thesis and dissertations, go to the NDLTD database. And if you can't find it in any three of those databases, check to see where that thesis or dissertation was completed, the institution that is. Was it at UJ? Was it at WITS? Was it at UP? Then you can directly access that institution's repository, because most thesis and dissertation repositories, particularly from institutions here in South Africa, they open access. You'll be able to download the full thesis and dissertations. Right, so for this afternoon's session, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you very much for attending. Tobile will share a link onto the chat. But again, I would like to thank you very much and to highlight that the PowerPoint presentation will be shared with you. Also, the video recording will be shared with you, but the video recording might take a bit of time. There's certain processes we need to follow before we upload it on our social media platforms. But as soon as they become available or ready for upload, then we will share those with you. Thank you very much. Please do remember that the postgraduate program is ongoing and that we have other sessions that we strongly recommend that you attend. These form part of or move from more foundational sessions where we look at ebooks, but then they get more advanced where we look at databases specifically, progress to data management, progress to reference managers as well. So we strongly recommend that you keep an eye out for the next session that's coming out, and please do register to attend upcoming sessions as well. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.